And hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Wartburg and Fusion Entertainment Review. I'm one of your hosts, MrWartburg. Alongside me, as always, is Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations, everyone.
So this is WAFER number 11. This is recorded on February 26th, which is the day WandaVision number 8 previously on dropped. So we're going to be talking a lot about WandaVision, episode 7 and 8. Those are the last two episodes that have come out between our recording sessions. Got some other stuff in the works, some casting news, some trailers, some cool trailers dropped, like, of course, the Snyder Cut trailer, the Red Band trailer for Mortal Kombat, which looks sick as hell. Oh my god, that looks cool. I was not expecting that. Some casting news, particularly a lot of DC casting news, actually. It just kind of worked out that way. And then we'll get through our kind of what we've been watching and playing, things like that. So without any further ado, let's get right into WandaVision, because that's what everyone should probably be here for. Because, man, that show is awesome.
Fucking great show, man. Great show.
So, Fusion, let's go through like a little bit of a 7 into 8. So we'll start with 7 as kind of like the first thing, like the appetizer, and then the entree is going to be WandaVision episode 8 previously on.
Okay. I think the big thing to point out from 7 is, well, the two big things, the two obvious big items are, one, the one that we all kind of predicted was Agatha Harkness, that, Catherine Hahn's character was Agatha Harkness.
Mhm.
And just the whole monster style reveal intro at the end of the show, it was Agatha all along. Fucking great. I loved it. Thought it was great. Brilliant stuff, man. The other big thing for me was the full official introduction of Spectrum into the MCU, the Monica Rambeau. That was the other big one for me.
Yep.
And
yeah, my notes, that was the Breaking the Fourth Wall episode. Number 1, the like Modern Family like lampooning.
Okay, yeah.
Excellent touch. Of course, it was Agatha all along, which is definitely going to be the title of this episode.
Yeah.
Vision getting a history lesson from Darcy was a nice way to keep her character in the loop without really doing a whole lot. Especially as we see in episode 8, where it's literally nobody else. It's Wanda and Agatha, and that's it. At least in terms of what's going on right now. The Monica power-up scene, that was really awesome. Like the whole driving the rover through and then it changing and her just like going through.
Yep.
Definitely seeding Hayward's definitely a bad guy. Like this dude, he's a fucking bad guy.
Yeah.
And then of course, the like weird stuff going on with Pietro, like very like needling, like too much so. Like something's definitely off with him. And then of course the reveal of being Agatha all along, and then we get the reveal of her like sanctum underneath her house, which was really cool. And then that's kind of where we were like, oh shit, it was Agatha. Is she the bad guy? Like, is there going to be somebody else? And of course, now we know in episode 8, there's something else coming down the road pretty quickly. Yeah. And then of course she references that she uses magic, so we're getting slowly introduced into like the actual magical side of things, which is an underutilized part of the MCU. Yeah. DC has the same problem, which just sucks because they have fucking John Constantine right there. What the fuck? But anyway, that's mostly where we were at on episode 7. Of course, this week was previously on. I have a lot more notes, but Fusion, what did you think about episode 8?
It was a really good flashback. It filled holes to the backstory of Wanda Maximoff. We had her childhood. We had, the things that we had heard about, at some point, like the Stark bomb that landed in the apartment that killed the parents, and then them in there, and kind of her fascination with TV, old classic TV shows started when she was a child. We go from that to jumping into, it's not long after Ultron, where she's having a one-on-one in her bedroom with Vision. So basically, it helps fill a lot of the gaps for her, which is, I think, kind of a microcosm of the entire series, where this show has filled a lot of gaps in the MCU that we overlook or just kind of forget about. Just, a lot of people forget, like, oh shit, she did have a brother that just died, in the middle of combat in the Age of Ultron, and she just kind of moved on from that. On top of making fun of on multiple occasions her accent, the fact that she lost it, they did it again in episode 8. It was just I really liked how they kind of brought everything full circle for her. We introduce, yes, folks, chaos magic. And if you don't know chaos magic, That's the big one. Not even the Sorcerer Supreme, him or herself, has the ability to access. Only one person that we know of in the comics, from the comics into the MCU, now has it, and that's Wanda. And we also officially have her dubbed as the Scarlet Witch, finally. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a great episode. Are we going to talk? Do you want me to just go ahead and jump in, or do you want to jump in on the post credit scene, because that was the biggest thing?
I'll go through my notes quick, and then we'll start the prediction stuff based on for the finale, based on the end credit scene. So of course the opening with Agatha's backstory, a little overdone with her screaming while she's like burning at the stake.
Yeah,
but I appreciate the tone that they were going for of like, yeah. No, like, she's actually kind of a bad guy. I mean, she, like, basically, like, absorbed her mom's life essence. So, yeah, she's kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
But maybe not, like, the I want to take over the world kind of bad guy. She just wants power.
Yeah.
Which is different than some of the other characters in the MCU. Of course, like you said, the fleshing out of Wanda's, like, history. Especially, like, the Hydra stuff. Like, we see her interacting with the Mind Stone for the first time.
Yep.
And it's showing her that, like, glimpse of what she will become. And we get that kind of hint that, no, her and Pietro were different from birth. Like, not the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone just, like, unlocked it, which is where we might get into the, are they going to reverse House of M, the mutants, into existence? What the fuck? Like, that was a cool beat, because up until this point in the MCU, it had always been assumed it was the Mind Stone, because at the time, Fox was still separate. Like, she was a Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were characters of two universes. So, like, they couldn't really be themselves, like, all the way, which definitely kind of took the wind out of some sails in both cases. Although X-Men's Quicksilver fucking ruled. And they never even really used Scarlet Witch at all, because she was, like, way younger than her brother, which was an odd decision. But, you know, it worked for their stories they were trying to tell. And the whole time where Agatha's trying to figure out what makes Wanda tick, and then she realizes, oh, shit, you're not just, like, a powerful witch. You're, like, basically, like, magic Dark Phoenix, possibly.
Yeah.
Like, holy Chaos shit. And it scares her.
Yep.
Like, we set up that she's bad, and she's fucking terrified of what Wanda can do. Like, that was a cool, like, you start with that beat, and then you end with said bad guy in all her glory. Holy shit, I'm scared of you. Like, you don't even know what you can do. That was a really cool beat. And then, of course, we get into the mid-credits scene, or the end credits, because they don't really have an end credits, because Disney needs to, this is a side bit, because I've been rewatching the MCU. Disney needs to not collapse the credits on Marvel stuff. You know how they, like, will always collapse it and put it to the side?
Sure.
Even in their movies, where there is a known post-credit scene, they shrink it, and you have to open it all the way back up, and then fast forward to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Come on, what the fuck, Disney? What are you doing? Fix that. Everyone wants to watch the shawarma scene, okay? Everyone wants to see Nick Fury say, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Don't make him jump through hoops for that. That's beside him. You fixed the putting him in chronological order outside of the Incredible Hulk because of Universal stuff. Fix the actual, like, experience of watching them. That's all. That's my other bit. So the mid-credit scene, we get, of course, more payoff with Hayward being a total asshole. He set Wanda up from the very beginning, lied to Monica to get her to not turn, even though she eventually does. And we get the White Vision, which is a kind of a callback and throwback to a few different comic book arcs, where it's basically going to be like robot, emotionless, soulless Vision being sent in. And because he's being powered by Wanda's power, he can just walk in, essentially, is what they're setting up.
Yeah.
So, and then the final scene of the whole, like, regular episode, or not the final scene, maybe. Is it the final scene? Where she breaks down and makes Vision?
No, that's not the final scene.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when that happened, but that scene where she breaks down and the power explodes, changes everything in an instant. So clearly she's not, like, planning it. It just fucking happened, right? And then we find out that, no, this isn't Vision, like, she didn't steal the body and take it. No, she just made him, like, from fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers. Did not see that coming. Probably
Okay,
should have,
so
but didn't.
I gotta jump in here because I don't know how familiar you are with the whole concept of chaos magic.
A
Basically,
little bit.
okay, so basically, for those that don't know, in the comic book realm, in the 616, chaos magic, like I said, even Sorcerer Supremes cannot access it. It's very rare. Wanda does have that ability. That's where Disassembled and House of M all came through because chaos magic is the ability to use magic that's pulled from the multiverse and alter any individual reality. And so that's where we get House of M from because she has that ability. Now, like you said, where we go from, it's a very interesting thing what Agatha Harkness said because we can technically retcon, like you said, the fact that they got their powers from the Mind Stone and say they were probably possibly mutants all along. We just triggered a dormant response to their mutant gene, like, and then that in the chaos magic, obviously she's gonna, we could talk about the rest of the finale, but she's obviously the chaos magic is going to play a role in this, but she releases it and all of a sudden some people have mutant abilities all over the world, that's
Yeah.
what I think is going to happen with the mutant aspect of it. Now with if you noticed when she reconstructed Vision in this reality, if you noticed, her hex coloring is in her hands and her body, right? But if you watch at the very end of that power base while he's being constructed, it's yellow, which is either one the Mind Stone, which we've assumed that that's not what it is, or it's two chaos magic. So if it is chaos magic, it is possible that that construction on some level of Vision can access the outside world. We just don't know. Maybe she has to allow it, or we don't know the full story. But we're getting very close to a lot of the aspects of the comics for Vision's reconstruction to White Vision, the battle that may take place. But we could talk about our theories here in a sec. But yeah, that's the thing is that it involves this whole concept of chaos magic. And if you watch her reconstructing the entire city and everything change, it's all red. But the moment she starts constructing Vision, her hands and everything leaving her body is red. But as it's rebuilding Vision, it's yellow. So there's some symbolism there with that, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a rundown on where we're at on our initial like holy shit like moments of things that really stuck out to us. So we have one episode left this season, episode 9, which I'm banking on it being closer to an hour, maybe even exceeding an hour. Feige, I believe in an interview, said the last 3 should average to be about an hour. So we had 35, like 43-ish minutes this time, or in the 40s.
So maybe like an hour 15.
So I could see an hour 10, especially if you count go through the credits and get to the end credit scene.
Sure.
In the runtime. So I could see something like that because we're kind of going to need it. Of course, there's a number of beats yet to be decided. Of course, our kids, like what's going to happen to them. White Vision versus Nexus Vision, or Hex Vision, whatever we want to call them. What's going on with Rambo and Quicksilver, and especially what's going on with Quicksilver. Yep. Like, one of the theories I was kicking around with somebody on a Reddit thread today was, so it's like implied in this episode that Pietro is something she made to get to Wanda, but she's also nowhere near as powerful as Wanda. So what I'm wondering is what happens if like Vision like zaps Pietro to figure out what the fuck's going on with him. Because remember, he took off at the end of episode 7, and we don't see where he went.
Yep. So
he's probably going to the house, and is probably going to run into Monica and Quicksilver. What happens when he hits Quicksilver, and then is he all automaton, or is that a Pietro that got pulled across the multiverse, and she just wiped his mind?
Because so Agatha Harkness has access to the multiverse.
Or because she's so close to Wanda, and that barrier is so weak, she could pull him across, because it's so much easier to do that than, as she said, raise a corpse from the ground that's been shot to death years ago, or pull across a universe. Given what the status is in the Hex, maybe it's just easier for her to do.
Okay.
Which would set up some interesting propositions, because of course Agatha's going to either A, be outright defeated, or B, just fuck off and leave. I don't think they're going to kill her, given the role she plays as Wanda's like mentor and all that stuff like down the road in the comics. But they could, because in the Ultimates universe, Agatha's straight up a bad guy, like at all.
Yeah.
So it's not out of their own possibility that they just treat her like a bad guy and she's just axed off the table. So, and then either once her magic dissipates everything's gone that she interacted with, but Pietro stays because no, he was real. He's a real person. She just fucked with his brain for a little bit.
Sure.
And then he's stuck in the MCU, or does he get sent home and we get a glimpse into what's going on in his universe? That'd be really cool because it'd be nice for that to not just be stunt casting, you know?
Yeah.
Which is fine. Evan Peters is awesome. Like he's a fan favorite in both the Fox and the Disney universes already. So let him. Even if it's just a stunt casting, that's cool. But it'd be nice for it to be an actual like. No, this is going to be a thing that you want to pay attention to. Like what happens with him. Everything else is going on that's got your attention. You know, white vision, chaos magic. But then the undercurrent is no. What the fuck's up with Pietro? What the fuck's up with the whole mutant thing? Because that's a thing that is kind of flying under the radar that I think could pay off huge because no one's paying attention to it.
Oh, that's fair to think because I mean, we talked about the next big project outside of what's already been established is the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen within the next 2 years. A film. They haven't laid any groundwork for mutants in the MCU yet. But are we going to talk about possibly that, maybe it's revealed in this episode, in the final episode, that Monica Rambeau her DNA was not completely reconstructed, but just kickstarted or something. The mutant gene in her DNA. And if that's the case, then okay, well that's what's going to happen with everyone else in the bubble because we've established that everyone else in there they've had their DNA or their rewritten to or restructured or something. That's how Darcy has put it. Like it's been we worked on a molecular level, so we know that okay, there's going to be a payoff for that as well. And a lot of this has to do, like you said, whatever happens with Agatha Harkness. My theory with Agatha is that I think they're going to long play her, maybe for if they do a second season of WandaVision, if they decide to do one, after it'll be a few years till we see season 2 because they're going to put her Scarlet Witch into, Doctor Strange 2, which is supposed to debut release next year at some point, right? Like
next fall, I think is their window for that one.
Okay. So when I think about this, what I think whatever the end game is, the bad guy is I don't think Agatha Harkness is the bad guy. I think she's just fascinated with the power and wants that power, like you said. I think Hayward is the bad guy. Yeah. He's obviously the bad guy now. There's no Mephisto. There's no one else like some demon or someone like Arcade or any Mojo. Nothing like that's happening now. I think it's just Wanda was broken. Obviously we all thought, okay, well, it's kind of weird for her to go in there, steal the body, reconstruct it, and reconstruct this place. It just makes it too easy of a story. Okay, well, Hayward set her up. The video is fake of her breaking in and stealing the body. She never did that. Okay, all right. We know she created this town over Westview. Okay, great. We know that now. So how far has Hayward been monitoring this situation? Like, or has he? How involved has he been in this whole process? Because obviously he was teasing Wanda to get something out of her to be able to repower or kickstart the body of Vision, and it didn't work. So they reconstructed it, But then he realized, okay, her hex power is what we can use to power him. So what I think is going to happen is I think whatever happens with her, she's going to damage the multiverse, which leads to Spider-Man, and the Spider-Verse story the quasi Spider-Verse story we're going to get. I think at the end of this, Vision, like you say, Nexus Vision and White Vision are going to fight at some point. I think maybe his person, like his essence beats it and goes into White Vision, but that he's still a broken man, so he just leaves, and that just breaks her heart.
Mm-hmm.
Her kids are gone. We don't know. She doesn't know what happened to her kids, even though it's going to probably be just like the Children's Crusade, that whole story where the souls are out there that lead to the Young Avengers in the comics. But I think what's going to happen with her is I think she just snaps at that point, breaks reality at some point, throws chaos magic out there, and we're going to have mutants for one thing, but then also the multiverse is cracked, and so. We'll probably see some more of that. I don't think so much in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier probably takes place around this time, if not before WandaVision, somewhere around there. I think Loki, we might see some of the after effects or the damage to the multiverse in Loki, because when you're watching the trailers, he's jumping around in different timelines within this whole little pocket universe he's in, this little jail universe he's in or whatever. I think a lot of it will be because of damage from the multiverse. That's what I think happens. But I think Agatha Harkness doesn't die. I think she depowers her, and then she'll utilize her in a future season if they do have one.
Mhm.
That's what I think. So. I think that's going to be the big thing. But I think the big war is going to be Sword backing up White Vision and the people in the town, or Spectrum, Nexus Vision and Scarlet Witch, and maybe even Agatha Harkness to a degree helps fight back Sword.
Mhm.
That's what I think might happen.
So that's pretty much in line with where I was at with a lot of the stuff
Okay.
going on. One of the things I had meant to touch on, I'm wondering, given the status of a lot of the known like bad guy groups in the MCU, AIM was a one-off in Iron Man 3. Hydra was defeated multiple times, if you count Agents of
Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. and Winter Soldier. I'm wondering if, in the wake of the blip, and then, of course, everyone coming back, they were, like, rebuilding and nobody was paying attention because, half the fucking world died.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Hayward is actually, like, an AIM Hydra team-up, like, agent, and if we get that kind of payoff with him, because he's definitely not straight up with everybody about being like the
Yeah.
director of Sword, and he would be the prime like kind of candidate for that kind of like infiltration if we're
Sure.
going that route. So I'm hoping, because it would kind of be cool to get a glimpse of what the bad guys are doing in the MCU.
Sure.
On top of all these like little stories we're gonna do, of course, like the Spider-Verse thing, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and all these things, and that the Falcon Winter Soldier bit, getting into AIM and Hydra, and like, are they working with the angles on like U.S. Agent and stuff, and going on with all that? Because that would make things give things some connective tissue beyond the movies, and of
Sure.
course what those shows do to affect the movies. It's nice to see that they're doing away with the hey, just don't talk about Agents of Shield. Like they don't really. It's a one-way effect. Don't worry about it. It's now
Yeah.
it's actually a two-way effect.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Helps to have the actual A-list talent, being on camera.
Sure.
Kind of necessitates that effect to take place. Let's see, what else did I have for notes? Did the Pietro thing. Okay, so the cameo that they're talking about, that's the thing. Everyone was talking about this Avengers cameo.
Yeah.
It's either A, no, we find out, and the whole episode, it's Fox X-Men Pietro, like, helping kick ass, right? Which would be a fun, like, story for him.
Sure.
Or it's Doctor Strange showing up towards the end. My money's on Strange showing up because, of course, after Rambo just yeets herself into the fucking hex, what's Wu gonna do? He's probably gonna fucking call the Avengers, somebody that he would know what the fuck's going on, because
Okay.
all the agents that he would know how to contact totally are either in the thing or got transformed. So he'd have to do something. My money is on Strange shows up and he's like, "How did you know to get here?" "Oh, Agent Wu called," and he just waves. Something like that would be a fun little beat for Wu, because I'd rather him not just be done in the story. Having just watched his like new friend go through and basically sacrifice herself potentially. Having him do something in the aftermath of that to bring in help would be a nice beat. But my money's definitely on it being Strange, because he's the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone's gonna like detect what the fuck's going on and get there to help, because that's how Agatha got there. So that's where I think he'd
Okay.
come in.
Okay. Now, oh god, I just thought of something that's going to be no, I'm not going to go there, because we're talking about magic-based powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's still one person that's out there that got left to the wayside on his own show. It got canceled, and if we did a cameo of him,
Wait,
come on, man, Ghost Rider, man.
Oh shit, yeah, Ghost Rider would be dope as fuck.
Because we're talking about accessing the multiverse magic, right? That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. It's obvious he could do it because he didn't have a sling ring. He just flat out used his hands to open a teleportation portal.
Yeah, no, he used
And
the chain. He just
he used
whipped
the
the
chain.
chain
That's right,
around,
the chain.
which was dope as fuck.
In his last scene in Agents of Shield season 4, and so like, yeah, so it would be kind of cool if Gabe Luna just showed up and they did a cameo with him, but that's not going to happen because
It's not
we're
gonna
talking
happen,
about
but it should
no.
happen. But it's not gonna.
It would be okay. Just as a fanboy, like I'm just geeking out here. That'd be fucking phenomenal, because it's like, all right, we're going full circle here, but it's not going to happen.
I'm still miffed he didn't show up in the last season of Agents of Shield. Like, come on.
Yeah, come on, man.
Him and Daisy were great.
Yeah,
Make that happen. It would have been awesome.
but no, it's we've all had these crazy outlandish predictions, and it's been very conservative in terms of like reveals and story structure. So I'm going to say it's just the big reveal is just going to be Benedict Cumberbatch showing up as Doctor Strange at the end, and it's not going to be. He's probably maybe the last couple minutes of the episode are probably not even there. Probably even the post credit scenes where she's a broken person and she's lost her mind and having a fractured mind and she needs help and he takes her and he's like, "Come with me, like we're going to work on this," and then they don't realize how fractured the multiverse is until Spider-Man because Doctor Strange is going to show up in Spider-Man as well,
Exactly.
and No Way Home. It has the title now, Spider-Man No Way Home. Um, I think, yeah, he shows up there like, what the hell is going on? It's like, oh, like I've been trapped in another reality or a different multi-universe. Great, we have a bigger problem here. So let me get with Wanda.
Oh, and we actually
But I
we have a title for that now. It's No Way Home for Spider-Man.
I just said that.
Oh, you did? I'm
Like,
I'm literally watching Twitter right now. Sorry, my bad.
yeah, literally 60 seconds ago, I said we have a name for it. Literally said we have a name now, and it's No Way Home. Wow, that was awesome.
I'm only
That's
halfway listening. Sorry, my bad. I'm a terrible
I
host.
appreciate that. Thank you. Halfway listening still counts as half a person, so whatever. I'll take it. But seriously, I think the other thing is that we're obviously going to have Vision going forward in the MCU. Obviously, and I think what'll happen is I think Vision's going to take the body over, take his body back or his reconstructed body back, but still have a fractured essence, like a spirit that's fractured, so he's not whole. And I think his response is like, I just cannot be here with you after this whole disaster and what's taken place and everything, and just disappears. That's when she breaks. That coupled with whatever happens with the twins, and she breaks and fractures kind of reality in the multiverse with her chaos magic. And I think Multiverse of Madness, I think that's where I think it's more of a chase movie where they're going from universe to universe to find Vision. That's what I think happens. I I think Vision somehow slips into the multiverse, and so she's broken, but she realizes she needs Vision in her life, and he wants to help fix things. Strange wants to help fix things, and part of that is they jump around to a couple of different worlds because we have these rumors now circulating that Chris Evans is going to possibly come back as a Hydra Cap or different universe Stephen Rogers, but he's more than likely going to play kind of an attitude villain, which I think is great because if you watched him in The Losers, he's fucking fun, just
He's
hilarious.
awesome.
He's great in that movie.
Or
I think.
What if he's Skrull Cap?
Oh shit! I didn't even think
Skrull Cap. Man, they're talking about doing Secret Invasion stuff.
Now we also have a possibility where the big reveal in next week's episode is Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah,
we have, because he's going to be, it's official. He's the big villain in Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and Wasp 2, or Ant-Man and Wasp 3, whatever you want to call it, and he's going to be the big baddie in the next phase. Okay, well, why not kind of introduce him here?
Yeah.
The multiverse gets fractured. We have mutants. We have some weird, strange people showing up. Some strange effects of people, powers. I think Darcy's going to get something as well, some kind of type of power or something.
She needs to stick around. She's a lot more fun than well, I should say this. She's more fun than Dr. Foster, Jane Foster. But we're also Thor 4 is probably going to fix that.
Yeah. I mean, it has to, right? Like, we can't go with boring Jane Foster, especially with...
the thing is, she's actually awesome. Like, Natalie Portman can be hilarious.
Yeah, she can be hilarious. Man.
Like, I mean, just watch her SNL stuff and the Lily Island stuff. She's awesome. Like, that movie, I think, is going to serve her really well, and the character, too. So, that'll be a lot of fun.
What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to have Odin's son for a while? Is that what we're going to have Hemsworth play?
It depends on what happens. Like, is he going to... Like, it's Gore the God Butcher, so is he going to fucking lose his arm?
Oh, that's so true. I mean, like, and that's part of the storyline. He did lose his arm in the comic.
Yeah, like, so he's lost his eye, lost his arm, doesn't have his hammer. Like, fuck. Like, Thor's been through the fucking ringer. Like, holy shit.
I mean, I've seen photos of him. It looks like everyone's saying, "Oh, it's the Ultimate Universe or Strike Force version of Thor." I don't think so. I think he just took a Reaver's jacket and just ripped the arms off of it just to be cool. Yeah, that's what I think.
Probably because the Guardians are in the movie, at least in the opening part, before they like drop him off to go do whatever.
Because he's going to be in Guardians 3, right?
Yeah. Which I like that they're like really leaning into the crossover stuff.
Yeah.
Even just for like little one-off cameos and stuff, and doing more than just one-off cameos. Now you're in like 20 minutes of the movie, and then we're bouncing. Like, I like that kind of interconnectedness, which is very evocative of the comics.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate. Is there anything else you want to add on WandaVision, either episodes 7, 8, or our predictions for the finale?
I don't think that the cameo is going to be this ginormous reveal. I think it's going to be Cumberbatch. I think we're going to finally. I thought this has been a really good show. We have to have some type of lead into Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm curious if they're just going to leave it.
They were flipped on the schedule though. So Feige said they're totally disconnected. We just had to flip them for post-production reasons due to COVID.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we're not going to have a direct tie into that. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. But I think Loki will kind of tie in a bit to the multiverse as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Loki's going to be DB fucking Cooper. Something's going on.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, okay, now I'm very curious on what the fuck's going on here. When he was like, "Hi, I'm DB Cooper," and he jumps off the plane, I'm like, this is great. Like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for Hiddleston to just be all over the fucking map as Loki. Why not, man? And the good thing about this Loki is he hasn't seen his ups and downs since the first
this
Avengers
is immediately post Avengers Loki.
Yeah, so this is going to give him a fresh spin on how he evolves as a character. And so whenever he meets up with Thor again, it's going to be very awkward because it's going to be a different Loki. It's going to be sans 6 years of life that they've lived since then, and stories and up and down. But anyway, back to the WandaVision. I think we're going to have a nice little battle scene between Sword and the both visions, and that's we're going to extend the story, and we're going to fracture the multiverse. That's what's going to happen. That's really it. Yeah,
I agree. I think we'll get a dope shot of the chaos magic spreading across the planet.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
And then, maybe I think we might see 2 end credit scenes. Like, one being people developing powers, like whether it be kids or anything like that. Like, I could see a shot like Storm's origin story is like rad as fuck. Like where she's like running away and then starts calling down hail and it starts like fucking people up when it hits them. Like, I could see something like that. Or even if it's just a smaller thing, like somebody like shooting lasers out of their eyes, like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? Something like that. And then, of course, the Strange working with Wanda, like meeting her, like, because they haven't ever actually met, have they? They were in the battle scene together, but did they meet?
No, because there is I read about this week. There is a deleted scene of all of them having like an Avengers huddle in the middle of the final battle, and I think they were like around each other at that point in that huddle, but that's really it. They were, we forgot the funeral service. We don't know how they interacted at the funeral service, if they did or didn't,
Yeah.
But I'm sure she knows of him because, like, just the callbacks that that Darcy and Wu and Hayward, they have like such in-depth knowledge of the MCU when they talk to each other, So it's like, okay, well, if they all know this shit, then basically the Avengers' life stories are now public knowledge.
Well, one of the Avengers was Tony Stark, so yeah. It kind of was.
Yeah. But it just sounds like, hey, there's so much information that's out there that, because a lot of these crossover events and stuff, a lot of it gets kept secret and no one knows, and rumors, and just see somebody, a mystery person, but everyone seems to know everyone, Like, the one thing that I loved about it was the Vision. He basically had a fucking a living will. It's like, okay, that's interesting to me. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was great. And that she's listed as a next of kin on his documents. I'm like, the Vision has a fucking document that has next of kin. Okay, like little things like that. I'm like, I kind of want to know more about this. Like, where is that document filed for Vision? I'm kind of curious how that works. But yeah, it's gonna. We're gonna flesh out the MCU, kick off another, what I think will be a really great phase 4 and 5 of the MCU. It's going to be different though, because while we still technically have Steve Rogers, and there's a way to bring him back. You want me to throw it out there right now?
Time travel.
Well, no. Time travels through him. We learned that in Endgame.
He can show up to immediately go back. Yeah.
Well, like when they were testing out the time machine with Smart Hulk, time went through Scott and made him younger. That's how they can bring him back if they really, 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 really wanted to. They want to bring back that Steve Rogers, old man Steve Rogers. But I think it's going to be a very interesting setup to Phase 4. This was a great way to. I know Spider-Man technically led into it, but it was the back end of Phase 3. But I think this is a great way to start Phase 4. I think so.
Yeah, Far From Home was more of a epilogue / hope for the future.
Yeah.
like ending of Phase 3 than it was a direct connection to what they're setting up in Phase 4.
Yeah.
Because they're getting fucking weird in Phase 4, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
fucking crazy town weird.
It
Like,
is sci-fi crazy. That's what
sci-fi
it
and magic and fantasy, coupled with some crazy, awesome Civil War Winter Soldier magic.
Shit.
Just like,
We
or
might even
action.
get a Man Thing. We might finally get Man Thing again, or and the Abomination may show up again at some point. We don't know.
Yeah. Like, oh, and I was gonna say, I didn't know that Patriot was gonna show up in Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it's like basically after, because I rewatched Captain America right after I read that news, and I was like, oh yeah, he gave a shitload of blood.
Yeah.
Like, they would have used that in experimentation, and of course, being World War II, that gives you the
Sure.
allegories of the Tuskegee Airmen. So you could use that as a way of like, no, like, it worked a couple times, but not to like any great extent. And then it wasn't until the guy had kids that it really showed up, and then said guy also had kids.
Yep.
And then one of those grandkids is Patriot, and it kind of becomes like one of the leaders of the Young Avengers.
What is Patriot's grandfather? Was it something Washington? I forget his name.
I can't remember. I never read. I only read the Wikipedia article on him because I wasn't a huge Marvel Comics head, but
Sure.
like that's like they're really leaning into the whole the next generation's here thing, which I like.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah, because they've talked about doing a new Avengers movie or a TV show.
Because you've got young Spider-Man versus all the older heroes.
Yep.
You've brought in Wanda's kids. You got Kate Bishop on the one hand, plus Scott Lang's kids.
Yep, Cassie Lang's older now.
Cassie Lang, she's like college age roughly, and then of course what's going on with Patriot being mentored by Winter Soldier and Falcon. That's pretty cool. Like, that's a solid group if you could get them all together and like do something with them. Plus, if they ever do anything with Miles Morales and like the actual Spider-Verse side of things, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here, man, and we haven't even we have She-Hulk.
And we haven't touched on like Ironheart or what's going on with the kid from Iron Man 3, because he was in Endgame. Like, is he going to show up and like do anything? Like, what are they doing with Black Panther's sister? Like
the War Machine series, like God, so much. Like, there's gonna be. This is great. This is really great. Disney Plus has. I mean, I'm very happy about this because we're getting comics. We're getting TV series style comics or comic style TV series, which is something I've always hoped for.
Yeah, it's like a high-end ass version of what the CW's been doing.
Yeah.
But in a more way that actually informs the larger universe. In a way that DC has only ever done a couple times, of course. The biggest one being the Flash crossover with Ezra Miller. Which I hope we get the reverse of that scene in Flashpoint. Like, I want to see Grant Gustin's Flash on the big screen and have them have that scene. That'd be dope as fuck.
Like, wait, didn't we meet before? That whole,
have me like, hey, it's you again, the Flash. Yeah. Like, and have that be the first time he names himself the Flash on screen, because he still hasn't done it in the DCEU.
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole joke with the Flash. Like, wait, the Flash? That's a great name.
Yeah.
What do you call yourself? I don't have a name. Like, great little joke there. And I'm so excited to see where they go with that. So before we get into any DC stuff, because man, our news stuff is very DC heavy.
Yes, it is.
Outside of Marvel stuff, I do have one Marvel story to touch on lightly. But anything you want to add specifically on WandaVision?
No, that's it, man. I can't wait for the final episode. Hope it's like you said, an hour, 10 hour and 15 minutes. That way we can flesh out this whole story, come to an end.
I hope they tell us ahead of time, because I've been getting up really early on Friday mornings to watch it before I go to work. So if I have to like shut it off 5 minutes before I need to leave, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, you like we do. I'm sure probably Tuesday or Wednesday we'll probably finally learn the runtime.
Yeah,
I think like The Verge or IO9 will say here's the official runtime. You know, we have to include from start to finish because we have to get the end credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the other thing, of course, with Marvel being they had a big, what was their day yesterday? It was some like Disney investor thing.
It wasn't the D23, was it?
No, I don't think so. That was in December. But anyway, Feige was giving a bunch of interviews on stuff. No, it was it's like the TCA, like the critics thing.
Okay.
And so they were giving a bunch of interviews and press tours and stuff. And he was saying that some of the shows, like WandaVision, probably won't have a second season right away. If they ever do, it'll be down the road. Some will be immediately greenlit for seasons like 2 right away. Like he was saying, Loki's probably going to get a second one. I think it was Loki. He might have been talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier. of their first batch. Other ones might lead them to them showing up in movies. Some might just stay in TV. Depends on where they want to go. He didn't comment on the getting the rights back for all the Netflix shows, but now they have the rights, so they could do something with those characters. Of course, we really hope that Daredevil shows up in Spider-Man. It'd be dope as fuck.
Well, apparently he finished shooting his scenes, so
I hope he shows up as Matt Murdock and then leads into a kick-ass, beats the holy shit out of some dudes with his walking stick, and we never see him put on the suit, and he just walks away. And Spider-Man's just like, what the fuck? It'd be awesome.
So you don't want costume Daredevil?
I do, but when he shows up, I want it to be the big fucking hero moment. Like,
well, I think well, Holland is trying to, because he has the habit of revealing way too much information in interviews. He did say that he's been a part of a month-long shoot for a massive fight scene that's like nothing he's ever seen before. That he even tops, what we saw in Endgame. So I find that hard to believe because there's a shitload of A-listers in Endgame running around, in the final battle.
yeah,
So
I could see them having a big ass fight in New York with all these like villains and stuff from the Spider-Man like universes colliding and all the heroes showing up. But then like the Spider people are not winning. But who comes in to save the day? Of course, Strange gets his maybe he gets knocked out or something right away, or maybe he's not even really that involved. But then Daredevil shows up and just starts wrecking shop on somebody, and then he finds out he's like, "Who are you? I'm your lawyer." He just keeps going to kick ass. That sounds like something that would fit in the tone of the Spider-Man movies we've gotten so far. Definitely wouldn't fit the tone of the Netflix shows.
Yeah,
it was a little darker.
Well, I think you mentioned it. It's been said that apparently Kevin Feige really loved Coulter as Luke Cage. And apparently they really loved Ritter as Jessica
She was
Jones.
awesome. Like outside of, and I don't even think Finn Jones was a terrible casting. That's his name, right? For Iron Fist.
Yeah,
it was more just they gave him literally fucking nothing to work with for a whole season, and Defenders nothing to work with. Made him a whiny, petulant baby. What the fuck's he supposed to do with that?
Season 2 of Luke Cage, he was great.
Yeah, when he shows up in episode 10, like Heroes for Hire episode, that was fucking awesome. Give me a whole season of that, and I'm fucking in.
Yeah,
that'd be dope.
I think just because they've established, the story with Jessica Jones was, the whole PTSD from the Blue Man, and that was a lot of women really loved the show on Netflix because of that. And hey, great, because I really hope a lot of those women went and picked up the Alias comic book because it was fucking great. Before she got into the whole New Avengers and had a baby with Luke Cage and all that stuff, like Alias was just a great part of the darker line of Marvel in the early 2000s. Great
it had a
stuff.
real like Vertigo feel to it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So to bring her back and put her on, the Disney adult channel, but do an actual Alias investigation where she's like sleuthing, and it could be related to what's happening in WandaVision, where there are weird powered people showing up all over the place and weird stuff. And rather than it being Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's her looking into it, and she could deal with it because she has powers.
Yeah, and she's had them her whole life, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I there's a lot of promise here, man. And you talked about the other shows like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. I think those characters in those shows are going to be long-term like series on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I don't think those characters have the power, maybe outside of Miss Marvel.
I think She-Hulk would show up if they ever got around if they ever got Universal back to the table to make a Hulk movie. She-Hulk would show up.
Yeah, I get that. Well, there is rumors that with Miss Marvel that there may be a Carol Danvers show up, a cameo, a Brie Larson cameo.
That should definitely be in the character's origin story. If you're going to do Kamala Khan, like Captain Marvel's character needs to show up in the origin story at some point.
So there's a lot going on here. I think WandaVision was a great way to kick off the next era, not just phase, but the next era of the MCU. Yeah, it's been great.
Kind of like
different.
Yeah, kind of like what DC's been starting to do a little bit, which is embrace the weird. Don't make it super like MCU's never really been like serious movies. Like it's popcorn fun. But they haven't really delved into the weirder shit that's going on outside of the kind of some Asgard stuff. And Taika really kind of got into it in Ragnarok. It was a little out there, but they haven't really dove in on some of the crazier sides of the Marvel universe. And I'm very excited to see where they go with that.
Agreed.
Let's flip to a different universe here because we got some news to
Oh,
get through. So other things, of course. Do we want to talk trailers first, or do we want to talk DC news?
let's go through trailers because I don't have a whole lot outside of the Snyder Cut because that'll lead into the DCU with Snyder Cut.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good point. So we'll start with a trailer that absolutely fucking floored me when it hit
yeah.
Twitter, and that is the Mortal Kombat trailer. It's dropping April 16th. The movie on HBO Max, same day and date as theaters. Holy shit, that trailer was dope as fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when do you say it Makad Brooks? I don't know if you
Makad
actually say his like name phonetically, but
No.
he was Jimmy Olsen on Supergirl. When like shoots the shotgun, and instead of just like freezing the gun, no, like the buckshot gets frozen as it comes out of the gun.
Yeah.
And then they fucking freeze his arms and snap them off. Holy shit. Like, what an opening for that trailer. Like, wow, what an opening. Like, what were your thoughts on the Mortal Kombat trailer?
I was really, really surprised. I mean, the techno EDM track from the original movie in the 90s was like it still resonates with people. People loved that. But the movie itself and the first both movies were garbage. They were just
Yeah.
awful. This looks like they're going to do their best to tell a really good fight story, and the CGI does not look cheap. The acting looks good. Violence is probably going to be top notch. Like we are going to get. I'm sure this pushes the rated R envelope. I'm sure like we're going to find out the Picture Association wanted this to be NC-17 because of what violence we're going to see.
According to the director, they were told take shit out.
Yeah.
Like when they submitted cuts, they were told take shit out because the director is a huge Mortal Kombat fan apparently, and so is a bunch of some of the cast. They love the new games, so and like they modeled a lot of the fights based on the X-rays from the new Mortal Kombat series, which is like okay, here we go. People that are into the new iterations of this, not stuck in the 90s. I'm fucking in.
It's like Godzilla versus Kong. It just looks like it's just going to be fun. Like we're not looking for groundbreaking cinematography or fucking Oscar nominations up the ass for these movies. We're looking for just good, entertaining movies, and I think this is going to be one of them. It just, it's. And I don't like to jump on a trailer, but I wasn't expecting what I saw. I wasn't expecting the trailer itself to be good. I was expecting to be like just a little. There's going to be hokiness into it, or the story is just really stupid and we're just going to be like, here we go again. And when I saw it, I was like, this shit, they actually make it look a little more realistic, if that makes sense. If that's possible. With a man that pulls out an essence of a dragon, to kill someone.
Or like another Sub-Zero one where he cuts Scorpion, freezes his blood midair and uses it as a dagger. Like,
dagger. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What just like inventive like ways to take Mortal Kombat, like the game mechanics and like rendered cutscenes and actually adapt them into a live action movie. Oh, that's cool. That's so cool. Like
I liked it. I'm not gonna say I'm hoping for it to be a blowaway movie, but I'm hoping for it to be fun.
Yeah, all I want it to be is fun because it looks like it's gonna be a rushed mess.
Yeah,
it's a lot of characters to introduce. Like that's a lot.
I think we've seen enough. You and I have seen enough of these comic book movies and adventure movies to know when you try to fit way too many fan service like characters in, it always ends up screwing up the plot.
Yeah,
or the pacing.
But like to get into kind of touch on what's going on with the Snyderverse, Mortal Kombat also has like you have an audience. Like that audience is gonna know what the fuck's going on. Like you don't have to pander to the newbies, Like and Mortal Kombat is very popular. Like everyone has played a Mortal Kombat at some point or knows what like of that world, at least in some fashion. I wouldn't say it's like on the level of like fucking Superman or Batman, but of like the newer IP that have come out, especially in the video game era, it's one of the more popular ones for sure. So like, and it doesn't look like it was that expensive, like top AAA like tentpole movie. So I don't think they're expecting it to do that. I think it's more like Dread 2012.
Okay,
where it's going to hit that niche of it's a smaller market, but that market knows exactly what the fuck it's in for.
And Dread was just a really good movie.
Dread was one of the best movies of the last 20 years. Like
underrated movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a top action movie like ever. Like it's boiled down fucking perfection of an action movie.
Yeah.
And also a comic book movie. Like It's awesome. I don't think this is gonna be that. Like that was like a perfect storm of casting, of like kind of directing slash possible ghost directing. Because from what I have read, the guy that did like Annihilation and some of those other like really cool sci-fi movies, he actually kind of like halfway directed the movie because the director kind of fucked off halfway through
Yeah.
production. Of course, Carl Urban being Dread, dope, cool ass fucking slow mo shit, and they had some of the best slow mo camera like work ever in film. Plus, dope action choreography. I'm not expecting that from Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
All I'm expecting is cool shit, lots of fights. Like, give us those two things, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. That was the problem with the first one in the 90s was you had actors that, they weren't action stars, and you could tell because the fighting was really the choreography was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Was just awful. And it looks like they actually trained for this one. They, might wanna make it look like it's straight out of a video game, of the video game, which I'm cool.
And one prediction:
Okay.
Cole will become Johnny Cage, but this is a pre-Johnny Cage Johnny Cage.
Okay, that's fair.
That will
Okay.
be his persona that he takes on because he's like a washed-up kind of fighter who's like
Yep.
was good and now he's not like, and then he's gonna transition into being that kind of Hollywood fighter guy. After this movie, he becomes Johnny Cage.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
Everyone's like, "Oh, where's Johnny Cage?" You don't need a straight man for these movies, like to explain things to the audience. Like, no, you kind of do a little bit, and he'll become Johnny Cage. That's my prediction.
Okay.
So other trailer news, and that's what I was kind of mentioning with like the, I believe I saw this take. I can't remember who I was watching a reaction video from the Steiner Cut trailer dropping. Was that like it's just cool new scenes? Like, why did we need a trailer for this? And
Okay.
my response to that, before we get into the trailer itself, was the Snyder Cut. Anyone that gives a shit about the Snyder Cut, either because they want to see it or because they want to see it and react to it, they know what the fuck they're getting. Like,
Yeah.
you are not coming into the Snyder Cut just doe-eyed. You've never seen a superhero movie before. Like that's almost impossible at this point.
Yeah.
So all that trailer had to do was show the cool shit that Snyder's putting in this movie. And it definitely did that.
Yeah.
Like, there were some fucking cool scenes and some recontextualizations of scenes we've gotten. Like, an actual, like, we didn't see the long, slow pan around everyone reacting to Superman dying. Not really. It was all aftermath, like, months later kind of thing. Like, that whole opening shot of the kind of recut of Eisenberg's, like, Superman's dying and screaming and it's, bellowing out across the cosmos. And the bell's been rung. The god is dead. And all those like cool shots of like the Amazon, like fortress falling into the ocean and all that stuff. It's fucking rad. There was some cool shit in there.
Reconstituted Steppenwolf looks a lot better.
Yes, actually looks like an apocalyptic warrior. Like when I imagine Apocalypse that we've seen in like the DCAU or in like Harley Quinn or like in Young Justice or even directly from the comics, but I was referencing more like the stuff you see visually. Like mostly it's been cartoons.
Yeah.
When you see that and translate it to film, I expect something like what we are looking at from the Dark Side we see, from the Grinding Goodness, the Desaad, and, of course, Steppenwolf. It looks like fucking Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Which OG did not. At all. So, Fusion, what were your takeaways from the Steiner Cut trailer? Like, what stuck out to you? Did you like it? Did you not? What are your thoughts?
I was a little just impartial. I mean, we knew what we were getting ourselves into with this movie. It wasn't like with Mortal Kombat where I was like, oh shit, I'm pleasantly surprised. We have a few other things about this that are revealing, including the resolution that the entire movie is going to be in. It's going to be an IMAX box resolution.
Yeah,
The one
which
the
is
one
different.
433
Yeah.
1333 resolution. And so, when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, maybe there's a reason why it's in box format. I don't understand. And then, the next, or not even the next day, like that afternoon, it was announced, oh yeah, the entire movie is going to be in that format. Okay, I need to know more. Then we find out, oh yeah, Snyder wanted to do the whole film that way. So, when he took the scenes that were shot by, that were going to be used and shot by Joss Whedon, he converted those to box format as well because that's how he had everything else shot previously. It's like, okay, we find out 3/4 of the movie was reshot for Whedon. Okay, that's another shocker for me to
Yeah.
find out that this is going to be a 4-hour fucking film. Okay, that's
Yeah.
for me. This is what, like you said, when you opened up on this, those of us that are looking forward to this, we know what we're getting ourselves into. We know it. What this is about is this movie was unfortunately taken away from Snyder and his wife while they were in production. And then
I
if
wouldn't
you
say
read,
taken away. It was more
well,
he stepped
if
down
you
for
go,
a very good reason.
well, no, even before that, if you read the Variety story, which was a really good story,
Oh yeah.
apparently Warner Brothers had been dicking around, like they
Oh
are
yeah,
accustomed to
definitely.
do
This was
with
before
DC
they
properties.
reorganized in the wake of
Yeah.
Justice League's failure.
Yeah. They apparently were dipping in to Justice League, making it complicated, and it was frustrating Snyder and his wife, and they were ready to just they were actually, before their daughter died, was they were actually contemplating walking away from the project. They were like, is it really worth it? And then, their daughter unfortunately committed suicide, and they went back to work after a short time and tried to work through it for a couple months, and they're like, we can't do this. And then while that was happening, Warner Brothers still being Warner Brothers. So I'm kind of wondering, Warburg, where was the change of heart? Is this strictly just a financial thing for them, like a big major production to generate subs on HBO Max because of the hype around it, or
Partly,
was there some genuine, like, some of those executives feel bad for how they handled the Snyder situation with Justice League, especially in the wake of what's happening with Joss Whedon right now?
yeah. Like based on a number of factors, this was like the Snyder cut coming out was inevitable. I mean, number one, we knew about it from day one. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
it was the least kept secret in Hollywood. Like that, there was a
yeah,
completely different cut of this movie. Like damn
sure,
near 80% different movie, which is
sure.
rare. Like to have that much shot, that much done, that much principal finished post production done on it.
I think the other one that comes to mind is the Donner, the Richard,
Yeah,
Superman
and then
2,
that one and Blade Runner are the two
Blade
that
Runner.
come to mind.
Yeah,
But it's been a while since we've had that kind of thing go down. Snyder, of course, had the Batman versus Superman thing, but that was more Blu-ray extra, aftermath, after the fact, afterthought to
yeah,
drive home media sales.
sure.
Of course, they want to push HBO Max, and they
Yep.
need content now. So you couple that needing content now with that Snyder had so much in the can. You have
Okay.
all this, and then couple the fan pressure of we want to fucking see it. Like let Cavill like show up and be Henry Cavill instead of fucking mush face Joss Whedon bullshit. Like
Yeah,
all that pressure, plus the cast saying, "Hey, let's see it." Like we want to see what we did, because a lot of the cast came out and said we want to see the Snyder cut. So that's a
yeah,
lot of pressure. And of course, they're launching this new streaming service, so again, they want the subs. Then all the stuff comes out with Ray Fisher and their investigation into Joss Whedon. So then they're like, oh, shit, that really soured them on Whedon. And they're restructuring their executive structure.
sure.
That's a shitload of stuff all piecing together to, yeah, we should probably put out the Snyder Cut. So it was inevitable we were going to get here based on everything kind of breaking as it did. But I mean, number one, it's just really cool to see this kind of thing like brought to life and not in a half-assed way. Like, and then reading like the Snyder quotes and stuff. Oh man, he just knows he's got one over on these dumbasses
Oh yeah,
because
oh
he's
yeah.
just like, fuck it, don't even pay me. You're paying for the movie. It's gonna be cost you $70 million. Let's
To
go,
do the rework, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's insanity for a movie
On
that's
top of
it's not gonna hit theaters.
Okay, so here's
Seventy
the thing.
million dollars on something that's not gonna hit
To hit
theaters.
theaters, like it was done, and he was like, "Okay, well, you're gonna have to spend another 70 million
Like,
on this
and they
production."
fucking
Like,
did it.
and they did it.
Oh my
That's
god.
that is great. And the other thing was, what really cracks me up about that whole thing, Warburg, is that they basically told him there was a rough cut that he had that he was giving to friends of his cut of the film, right? They, you know, Warner Brothers basically told him, "Why don't we just put that on HBO Max?"
Yeah.
That's essentially that's what your vision was. It just may not have been completed to fully fleshed out. But why don't we just put that cut out there because it's better than what's out there now because other executives are like or even executives of Warner Brothers were like it was dog shit. The Whedon cut like it was dog shit, but we had to go with it because he was our guy. We had pumped in all this money into it, and Snyder had left, to go deal with his family, and we kind of just fucked up. So we just were like, okay, just go ahead and release it. But the fact that it went from talking about a free work print that Snyder had to, no, we're gonna spend an additional $70 million fucking dollars,
It's
and it's
nuts.
going to be 4 fucking hours, and you're gonna like it.
Like, that is such a nice, like I said earlier last week, I'm up for a cinematic fuck you to Joss Whedon and the
Yeah,
old like WB that used to exist where they were like constantly getting in the way of the DC shit. I'm hoping that's in the past. Fingers crossed on the latter part. Definitely fuck the former guy. He's a piece of shit.
yeah,
Of everything coming out with Whedon, and this was all pre what just came out with Joss Whedon, like
yeah.
the whole stuff that went on in the Buffy set and all that, and plus and Angel too. Like I'm cautiously excited about this movie now. Like I said, like
Now,
to circle back, like the trailer was validation for the fact that this movie exists, and you're gonna see some cool fucking shit. We're not gonna see like again another Oscar-worthy plot.
oh,
You're gonna see some fucking cool shit.
yeah,
Like you're gonna see a guy that knows how to fucking film super speed
yeah.
with the Flash. It's like, fuck yes, I'm in. Because like we did all the stuff with the Flash and Cyborg was gone. Like we're gonna see the time travel stuff with Barry Allen. Like we're gonna see him popping into different parts in the story, like a different version of him. So cool. Get fucking like the Nightmare verses back, and of course the fucking meme line of Joker. Like we live in a society over a black screen, and then he turns. Isn't that right, Batman? Like, it's just so much like excess, and hopefully doesn't like apps. It can't be worse than what we got in 2017. Like
No,
that was what a clusterfuck that was. So it
that
can't be
was.
worse than that. And then you couple all these other pieces of the puzzle of like what happened, why it happened, when it happened, and then the fact that we get to watch this after all that. We get to watch it. Awesome. I'm in.
And we get 4 hours of it.
Yeah.
4
I
fucking
can watch it on
hours.
my 4K HDR, pop back the recliner, get a pizza, and have a fucking blast. I'm in.
Dude, I could literally smoke a rack of ribs from beginning to end of that film.
Exactly.
That's how crazy it is to me. 4 hours. Okay, okay. Like remember when we watched the extended, like there are these marathons of it, the extended versions of Lord of the Rings, which it's like what 11
And
hours or
those are
something
very
crazy
hit and
like that?
miss. Are they better? Fellowship, yes. Two Towers, maybe. Return of the King, no, it is not better.
No. Okay, but still, like
Yeah,
every time
that's
you
it. Like
watch
that's
it,
the
you're like,
thing.
but when you're watching the extended versions, you're like, oh god, what did I get myself? Like you're like, let's
Oh
do it,
my
and then
god.
you're like, what did I get myself into? Fuck me. I think we're all gonna be like, I think there's just like a lot of spite behind enjoying this movie, and I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a good movie. It's going to be better.
Yeah.
Obviously, know that the bar has been set very low for what Whedon had did.
Mhm.
Um, on top of all of that, if you know the backstory with Whedon and what's happened with Ray Fisher, and now hearing the Buffy cast and their Angel cast come forward, like Chris Carpenter, then you know that okay, well, it kind of changes. There's a bit of a resentment for you. You're like, I'm going to enjoy this shit because fuck Joss Whedon. That's another motivator for some people,
Yeah.
honestly. And just to see all that at the end of it all, Snyder basically won.
Yeah.
He won. The fact that the other thing that the one thing that stood out for me from the variety that really kind of pissed me off is one, I'm very very disappointed in Jeff Jones
Yeah. He comes off
because
looking real
apparently
bad in this.
he looks like a dick in the variety piece because basically he's the corporate lackey for Warner Brothers through DC, and
Because he
that
didn't
sounds
used to
really
be.
bad. He didn't used to be. No, that guy he brought the Green Lantern universe up to the forefront in the early 2000s. He made the Spectrum, the War of Lights. He made Hal Jordan. He made everything about Green Lantern great. He
Yeah.
made Flash great again. The
Yeah.
Flash had been floundering, made the Flash great again. Oh, and he was given a lot of executive power over at DC, and I think that was he wasn't ready for that. Or I don't think that's really who he is, but because he helped skyrocket sales of floundering like legacy titles, he was given a lot of power over there. And I just hearing that was disappointing. And two, just the other thing about how basically Warner Brothers was like, yeah, Joss, I don't know why we don't understand why people were giving a hard time with Whedon, because Whedon and Snyder had been coordinating and working with each other long before Snyder left. And Snyder's like, nope, he's just like, nope, that never happened. Like, I never met with the guy. I never met with Whedon once, like as a handoff. Like, we backed out, and then they bring him in. We never fucking talked with the guy. Like, well, that's an untrue story. Where that never happened. It's fabricated. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
There's just so much behind. It's like a fucking it's like a cryptid, you know?
Yeah.
The Snyder Cut is a fucking cryptid at this
Yeah.
point. It's the Bigfoot of, like, superhero films,
And
and I
that's not
wanted
even counting what Nolan's wife said to him.
yeah,
Like, hey, don't watch this. Like,
watch
just
it.
don't go to the screening. Don't watch it. It'll break your heart, because they knew
Yep,
what was going on.
yep.
Because Nolan's rather like higher on the chain in WB, you might say, and in the know. And was he a producer? Or was he?
Who,
He was a producer on Batman vs Superman. Was he a
yes.
producer on Justice League? I don't think he was, but of course
I think he
he's
was.
Christopher Nolan. He got an
Yeah.
invite to the presser and to the screener.
Well, no. So, I think he was. I think he was a producer on Justice League as well. I think so.
Christopher Nolan,
Nolan. Look it up. Let's do this
producer,
on the recording.
Justice League. Do it live.
Let's do it live.
He has a credit on his league, but he didn't originally.
Okay.
So no, he was not involved in the production of the actual Whedon Justice League we got. But he has a credit on Snyder's actually. So
Okay, well, that's cool.
which makes sense given that he was a producer on Superman and Batman vs Superman. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Just it's a cryptid, man. It's a cryptid, and we all want to watch it walk, through the forest on a shaky camera. And I'm not gonna say, like I said, I'm not expecting earth shattering cinematography.
Mhm.
I know it's gonna be better, and honestly, I enjoy Man of Steel. I think it's an underrated
Yes,
work.
it really is.
There's things about Snyder's works that he's up and down. There's been a few movies that have been really bad, but I want to see he's given the opportunity, because as someone who was a big Crow fan as a kid in the 90s, the Crow City of Angels, that happened with Miramax and Harvey Weinstein. They basically pulled the rug out from those guys and reworked that movie at the last minute and just ruined it. And apparently there is a work print of the real director's cut out there somewhere in storage. And that's one movie that I've always wanted to have a director's cut, like the true vision of the director, because apparently it's a really good cut of the movie. It's a really good cut of the movie.
That's the
kind of
only
like with Daredevil 2003, when you get the director's cut, it's much better.
Yeah, that's the only thing that taints this for me, is it's not entirely spiking a football in the face of WB and Whedon. It's that WB gets to profit off the ticket sales of us watching that spike being delivered.
No, that's true.
That's the only thing that taints it, but the rest is dope. So I'm excited to see what we get.
He got them to spend an additional $70 million on it. It's like,
that figure. I mean, that's more than the budget of the first Deadpool.
Yeah.
What? That's insane. But anyway, more DC news, real quick hitting stuff, because we're already an hour 5.
Let's go.
No, again, more HBO stuff. HBO Max is looking to actually do something with the Justice League Dark series, whether that's to tie into a movie or to be its own ongoing series. And that would be casting a new Constantine, which would 100% separate it from the Arrowverse, even though they have had Constantine for a while. Part of me is like, okay, Matt Ryan is amazing as Constantine. Why not just use him? But I also understand wanting to go a different route. Someone who threw his hat in the ring, because he does for every fucking role, that being Rahul Kohli. But that got me thinking, as long as he's British, who gives a shit? As long as it's Constantine, the essence of the character being whether just being a broken asshole who's actually kind of a good guy, though, I'm fucking in. Give me that side of the DC universe with the level of production that Disney's putting into the Marvel shows.
Sure.
Give me that. Because DC needs to step the fucking game up, which they are from Superman and Lois.
Yes,
the production values were amazing.
Yep.
Everything looked dope. The only thing that didn't look 100% originally amazing was the suit that the bad guy was wearing. It looks like somebody ripped the Doomslayer suit off of a movie set, and then he wore it. Still looked cool, but I could not unsee the Doomslayer. Looked like somebody was making a Doomslayer movie, and it didn't happen, and then they just used the suit. It looks like the Praetor suit, 100%. It's crazy. And
other than that, it looked like a major motion picture.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
The CGI and everything else.
And the production team is the same team that's doing a bunch of the Marvel shows, which is why it looks so good. So hopefully we get more cool shit from DC on that front too, which would be nice. That'd be a nice ripple effect from what Disney's doing. Is that percolating and into the iterating, competitors? That'd be really cool.
Good God, can you imagine now with the type of special effects on an Agents of Shield show?
Oh fuck.
God.
I hope we
Okay,
get it. I hope we get it.
let's go back to
Anyway,
DC.
back to
Sorry, sorry.
DC. Last two things. Number one, Superman reboot.
Yep.
We'll see if it happens. They've been kicking the can around the Superman thing for a long time. Of course, Michael B. Jordan threw his hat in the ring to want to be the Black Superman, who's like the Earth 2 Superman, not the like Superman that was president on like whatever Earth is supposed to be like a homage to Obama, like an actual. It's what is the character's name? It's not the Ultimate. It's like the Earth 2, like where everybody died, and then it was the Next Generation, and he was a Krypton, like half Kryptonian who happened to be black. Michael B. Jordan would be great as that role. But Henry Cavill's Henry Cavill still. Like, he's not just Henry Cavill. He's even Henry Cavill that's peaked even higher than when he was cast as Superman.
Yeah, he's done The Witcher. He's
maybe doing something with Mass Effect. He's been in Mission Impossible. Like, he's ascended even higher into god tier nerd status.
Well, hold on. On top of all that,
and he wants to be Superman.
On top of nerd, like he's ingratiated himself with nerddom, with just fans, geek fans, because his personal Instagram, he's out there building fucking PCs. Like this guy's jacked to the teeth, and he's out there like building computers on his own and gaming rigs. And people are like, "This, we love this guy." Like, why didn't we not know all of this about Henry Cavill before? So I think you're right. The legend of Henry Cavill is really big right now, and and he said he wants to be Superman again.
Yeah, like if he wants to be Superman, use Flashpoint, soft reboot, make him Super Dad, which is what Superman and Lois is doing to great effect so far. But have him be more the kid, be like a kid, not teenage. Which I was very surprised they subverted the whole love trial thing by just the brothers are just brothers.
Yeah,
they're cool. No weird shit going down, which is very anti-CW, which I'm all here for. But that's a whole thing. And Superman related, one last casting news. Sasha Calle has been cast as Supergirl in the Flash movie, which will be Flashpoint related-ish. So she is not the prototypical Supergirl look, which is, of course, blue eyes, blonde, white. So she's actually going to probably look a little closer to what Superman looks like, which is, like actual, like just black hair. Like that looks different than compared to Supergirl, even though they're like related, which is weird. But people, of course, got all up in a tizzy because she looks nothing like what the character does in the comics. And this is me getting on my soapbox here a little bit. I even typed a thing out. So I was like, who the fuck cares what the actor looks like? Character might look different in the comics month to month, depending on who's doing the fucking art. So it's pointless to compare about that bullshit. And how we iterate off characters from their original lore is how we get dope shit down the road. Like, we wouldn't have got Zendaya's MJ, if we were sticking to Mary Jane Watson. It doesn't take, there's a connection there, and the connection is we wanted to do something different, but pay homage to what came before. Like, that's awesome. I'm all for that. As long as we get cool shit happening on screen, who gives a shit if it's 100% adaptation of the comics? If you wanted that, just go fucking read those comics. It would all be boring bullshit if it was just everybody doing a Mark Hamill Joker every time there was a Joker.
Sure.
Like, it's just bullshit. So I'm hoping, and the same thing applies to the Constantine casting, if it's not going to be Matt Ryan. So.
Okay. So for me, I grew up on all of these comics as a kid in the 80s, in the 90s. In terms of like building diversity in each storyline, I'm all for it. As long as the story is good, it really doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. It really doesn't. It just doesn't bother me. As long as it's a well written and fleshed out story, I'm cool with it. You're going to have, there were some instances where I was a little frustrated, like in the comic book realm, the way they handled turning Iceman to come to the realization that he's gay. I just thought that like it was a very forced story.
Yeah,
like
it was weird.
That one itself, like just basically like, oh, your original 5 story, as a 14, 15-year-old, he finds out he's gay, and for some reason he finds it out because he's in the future, he's in current time. This whole story where they pulled the original 5, the X-Men, into the future. But
that's
whatever.
Some real comic book fuckery bullshit. It gets weird.
It gets really weird because all 5 interact a lot with their own future selves, like current adult selves, and it's so weird. But anyway, Yeah, just how they handled that one, I didn't like it. I didn't handle like basically just for young Bobby Drake to say, "I'm gay. You need to be too." And for current time adult 40-year-old Bobby Drake to go, "Yeah, okay, yeah." After for the 50 years of comic book lore where we don't even hint at that, yeah, I'm gay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it was just like I really didn't like that storytelling. That was done poorly. Okay, outside of that, how we have Sam Wilson taking over Captain America's shield. All we've had these alt verses of like a Black Batman. I'm cool with it, man. It's great story as long as they're good stories. I'm all for it.
Mhm.
Like when Jane Foster became the new Thor, I thought it was a well written story.
Yeah,
I liked it. I
especially when you get to
liked
the
it.
backstory where she's like fighting cancer. Like, holy shit,
Dying of cancer, not just
awesome.
fighting it.
Yeah, dying of
She's like
cancer. She's
she's
terminal.
like dying of cancer, and she finds out that she's worthy, and she takes Mjolnir, and she becomes the next Thor.
Yeah,
I thought it was great, but then how they fleshed the character out over the first couple of years, I thought it was great storytelling. Just like when Sam Wilson took over the role of Captain America. I thought the storytelling was great.
yeah,
Just give me a good story. Give me a good
exactly.
story. That's
And
what
the
matters.
thing is, to tie this into the Arrowverse a little bit, as long as
Sure.
she has good chemistry with the Flash,
Yeah.
that's it. Like that is the one of the standout highlights of the Arrowverse is Benoit and Grant's like actual on-screen friendship. Like you just
Oh, they have a lot.
believe those
Yeah.
people are friends, and they
Yeah.
are. But it comes through on camera, and
Yep.
it's awesome. You cannot watch those scenes with them together and not smile because they're having a blast. As long
Yeah.
as that chemistry jumps off the screen at you, who cares? So
It's the same thing with Elizabeth Olsen and what's his name? I forget. Paul Bettany. They
yeah,
just have great chemistry. Like you could tell that they're they get along as friends, and it works. It works so well. It
yeah.
does. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm cool with it. Whatever happens. But realistically, I think we still need to. If they're going to try to do a soft reboot of the DCEU, and who knows what happens after Justice League, and Wonder Woman bombing and all that stuff.
yeah, because we know the Batman's done mostly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But we're
things are
getting a
still
Flash.
happening. We just got to
But we're
figure
getting a
out.
Flash.
Yeah, weird.
So if or we can get a multiverse Superman story with Cavill and another Superman.
Yeah.
If it's a black Superman from a different reality, just give me a good story, man. Just give me a good story. That's what's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Same here. So that's a good point to wrap it up on because I'm
Yep.
out of news stories. And I could get
Yep.
into the question from last week, but I'll just leave that for a future evergreen
Yeah, let's do it
episode.
for future. Yeah.
I have some ideas for some like future like evergreen one-offs that'll like not have a numbered title to them. So
Cool.
that'll be coming down the road. So thanks everyone for watching. Of course, you can find us. I forgot to do the rigmarole at the beginning, like the whole thing. I wrote it out, but follow us on our Twitters. Make sure to subscribe on the YouTube page and to your specific podcast feed. We're on all the major ones, so just check us out there. If you want to come over and like get the link dump and stuff, that'll be on the YouTube side. I'm not going to mess with anything on the actual Podbean website really too much because it's not really that in depth. I can do more on the YouTube side, oddly enough. So come check out all those different sources. Let us know what you think of the podcast. And we'll see you next week. No break. We're doing a direct next week episode after the finale of WandaVision. We're going to do it all on WandaVision, discuss the whole season, and we're bringing on a guest. And this will be the first 3-person podcast we've had so far. That's going to be with our friend Chris. Hopefully.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. I haven't actually asked him officially. Friday, are you in? He said he's in for the finale. I need to find a date for him.
Okay.
So
We haven't scheduled. We haven't put it on the books. We need to put
it's
it on the
like
books.
in principle, the idea is done. Now we need to figure out the date.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, post-production time for that. Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.